Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 522. Mr. Somich.
Big old California. Huzzah!
Boom! The Cali boys are covering Cal Cup Day at our favorite California track that's running right now. So that's what we got going on here. It's a fun Thursday. We're happy you're here joining us. Mike, how is everything in your world? And I know that it's a slow day for horse racing. It's a huge weekend for football.
Yeah, it's good right now. I mean, it's interesting. We got the playoffs, which are obviously ramping up here, wild card weekend this weekend, and we're just getting news dump after news dump right now. I mean, we've got Belichick, who decided to quit / get fired today. We had Nick Saban, who stepped down today. We've got coach openings in Seattle. We've got one in Atlanta. I mean, just Black Monday usually leaves a lot of different openings, but man, this has been quite the week, and be interesting to see where Belichick ends up. Based on that press conference, he will be coaching somewhere next year. Be interested to see who takes over for Nick Saban. The obvious candidate was the Oregon's head coach. He turned it down. He is going to stay in Oregon. So, awfully interesting start to a Thursday this morning with both Belichick and Saban essentially being on the outs.
First of all, I think that Bill Belichick is going to take Nick Saban wherever he goes. I think Saban's going to get like a senior advisor role where he can just make a couple million and work from home and tell Bill, like, yeah, I like this, I like that, and occasionally show up. Because the other option for Nick Saban was to run for some sort of state senator or U.S. senator for the state of Alabama. They don't have anybody coming up in term right now, so unless he wants to build his campaign for a while. But I can see those guys going together. Pete Carroll leaving. I mean, yeah, the Seahawks, it was probably time for him to leave. 14 seasons, multiple Super Bowl runs like that, like over different decades with, different things happening with those players. It's so hard to do and have that kind of consistency if you're not a Pittsburgh Steelers head coach.
Yeah, a great run for him. Probably the time was right for him to get out of there. I think that it's going to be one of the more sought-after head coaching jobs that's become available. You don't have the quarterback like you do on the Chargers, but the rest of that roster is absolutely phenomenal. So they just have to figure out, okay, what do we want to do at the quarterback position? Saban is going to be on ESPN. He has been tabbed as the next Corso. So we'll see if he actually takes up the reins for that with College Game Day or what happens. But he and Belichick actually both been sought after on ESPN. I know that Saban, it sounds like Saban's going to end up there. Sounds like Belichick is going to be back in the NFL coaching ranks. Right now, he's the favorite to take over the Chargers job. He's also been rumored for the Washington job. The Atlanta job is another one where he's been rumored in. We'll see. We'll see. I would not be touching the Washington or Atlanta job. I mean, the Atlanta job is interesting except for the ownership. The Washington job, no thanks, like hard pass. So we'll see what happens with Belichick, but not really sure you want to go to LA and coach the Chargers if you're Belichick at this point of your career either. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up landing, what job he decides to take.
Are you guys going to be covering any kind of prop bets like that on VSiN this weekend? Because it's always fun to see like who, the favorite for jobs and try and get some odds on some coaches moving around.
Not a ton of markets open yet. The Alabama job market was up and then came back down when when Oregon's coach announced that he was not going to be going there. So they're going to repost that, I'm guessing, sometime soon. The Patriots job market is up. Not D'Amico Ryans. Can't remember the other linebacker from the Patriots, not Vrabel, but the one who's currently coaching there. He's minus 700 to get the job. So it looks like that's in gambling world, pretty much a lock that he's going to end up with it. Like I said, Belichick favorite to the Chargers. The Washington was the second team for him. So we'll see what else comes available. And I'm interested to see how fast this happens too. I mean, you've got a couple of the big time head coaching prospects are already in the playoffs. So specifically Ben Johnson in Detroit is going to take a little bit of time. And it's going to be interesting to see if people decide not to hire someone because they want to take a run at Ben Johnson, or how that plays out. Also matters how deep he ends up going in the playoffs. Yeah, Mayo is the one who is rumored to be the head coach there. And then the other piece of this is Harbaugh and what Harbaugh decides to do if he stays at Michigan or if he takes off. I think he's gone. I've been saying that since the start of the season. We'll see. He to me makes a little more sense in that LA Chargers role or even in the Atlanta role. But we'll see what happens there and see where Harbaugh decides to do or what he decides to do after all the dust settles on this college football season.
I think the best fit for Harbaugh is Seattle because you described the 49ers when they were at their best with Harbaugh, which is a fantastic team. We don't know what we got at quarterback. You put the quarterback whisperer in there. You put Jim Harbaugh in this. I keep wanting to say John. Put Jim Harbaugh in there. John Harbaugh is pretty safe in Baltimore still. So I think that'd be a good fit for him. The LA Chargers, I've talked about before, the cheapest, stingiest owners in sports. They left San Diego because they refused to put any money into that stadium down there for about 3 decades. So really bad there. Well, they don't like him from the Niner days, Ed Burke says, but they like him a lot when he can get him back in the playoffs and go to the Super Bowl. And if they're beating the 49ers with Harbaugh, I think all of that will be okay for them. But it's been some time, right? Are they still that mad at Harbaugh?
Probably. I mean, Seattle fans are pretty, they hold a grudge. We'll put it that way. The thing with the Seattle franchise.
Hey, Miami fan, don't be talking about other teams' fans right now, okay?
Hey, I don't hold the grudge.
No, the Miami fans being a little runny over, a little bang, bang, bang to the Bills fans.
Well,
that's what I was referencing.
Don't pull us in with Dodger fans. I hate that.
Nope.
Look, the thing with the Seattle job is you have all of Denver's first round picks because of that awful Russell Wilson trade. So that's a big plus. And people are going to be lining up for that Chargers job because Justin Herbert's there. It's the only open job that has a quarterback. And that's really the hardest piece to get is a franchise quarterback in the NFL. And one of the open jobs has it and all the others don't. So it's going to be a very, very sought after position just because of Justin Herbert.
Well, one thing that's definitely sought after on this show, winning tickets. We're back at Santa Anita Park. We're bringing it back to horse racing now for Cal Cup Day. It's a great day for the Calbreds. There are going to be 5 stakes, 4 of them in this late pick 5 sequence, restricted to Calbreds. And so you'll see some horses that kind of are taking class drops, some that are stepping up, and a big mix here. It does look a little chalky, but Mike and I each have a couple of price horses we're interested in. So even though it looks chalky, we're hoping it won't be so much. So, yeah, you ready to get into it, buddy?
Yeah, let's play this pick 4.
Right is it. Just before we came on air, I was kind of shoveling down some food because I usually forget to eat before the show, which is a good thing I shoveled the food in because I don't know if you're hungry, Mike, but you will be after you look at the names of the horses here in the first leg of the Santa Anita Late Pick 5, Saturday, January 13th, race 5. It's the Cal Cup Oaks, 9 3-year-old fillies routing a mile on the turf, and if you're watching here on the screen, 5 of these horses have food in their name, and 6 of these horses of the 9 look like they want to gun it early. So, food puns aside, you know, a closer's really going to munch this field up.
Oh, nice pun there. 5 of them?
Petit Filet, Our Sweet Candy, Asada Fries, Sushi Sticks, Putt for Dough.
You counting dough?
I eat raw cookie dough like crazy, yeah.
That's fair. What's your favorite of those 5?
Ooh, it'll be my top pick, so I'll save it for that. The reason Mike said, by the way, that this is let's play a late pick 4, because he's got a single here. Start us off.
Yeah, well, this is not the single why it's a pick 4. The reason it's a pick 4 is because of the single in the 4th race. So we'll get to that in a second. This to me is one of those races where you either single the 9-horse Grand Slam Smile and you believe all the hype, or you spread around and try and beat Grand Slam Smile. And it's interesting because I believe, took 2 different routes in this one. I believe the hype around Grand Slam Smile, and so that's the reason I ended up deciding to single here. If you heard some of the comments around that Steve Spite has made to different people around California about this horse, essentially he has said if she picks up the turf at all, she's gone. There's no one in here that can beat her. And when you look at the numbers, she has better numbers than this entire field does on any surface, let alone just on turf. Now, she hasn't touched the turf. That's the big question mark. However, she's run very well over the synthetic twice. Would have liked her to win against Open Company last time, but that was also Open Company. Last 2 starts back, she was at Santa Anita, went 7 furlongs, absolutely demolished the field in a state bred stakes race, much like this one. Now we head over to the turf. I think she does it again here. Like when you go through this, part of the reason why I ended up singling her, I don't like anyone else in this race, and I could make a case for a couple of them, but I don't really get excited about any of them. And Grand Slam Smile, who 2 back showed her ability to be able to rate. She doesn't need the lead. You mentioned the speed in here. I don't think she's part of it. I think she actually gets a pretty good trip because of that. She sits right in mid-pack, covered up, probably 2 wide around the first turn, able to angle out and go. I think she's the best horse here. So I'm going to go ahead and single the 9-horse Grand Slam Smile, although I get it if you try and beat her, but if you try and beat her, you can't use her. That's a big part of this one because of the price a little bit later in here that I think everyone pretty much is just going to swallow and move along.
Yeah, so slight spoiler alert, Mike and I both have dollar tickets that total $48. So if you played this for 50 cents, it's just going to be a $24 ticket. So we looked at this and both saw it's looking relatively chalky. So for me, I'm trying to beat the 9 Grand Slam Smile. She is trying turf for the first time. She's also stretching out for the first time. And both her sire, Smiling Tiger, and her dam sire, Grand Slam, really good sprinters. They really weren't great at stretching out. Now, we're only going a mile. It's very early in their 3-year-old season. So how many of these really want to go a mile? It could be questionable. And that big race that you talked about, too, back at the Kalleward Stakes that she demolished by over 7 lengths, by the way, was Breeders' Cup Friday, I believe. Yeah, November 3rd. A lot of these horses we're going to talk about today ran on Breeders' Cup Friday. She won by over 7 lengths, and it was a 7-furlong race. The farthest that she has run to date was her best number. So she does have that going for her, but for all those reasons, first time turf, first time stretching out, the breeding, I'm going to try and beat her. My top pick, my favorite of all of these, is the number 5 Sushi Sticks. I love sushi. Sushi Sticks, I'm willing to try it. I don't know how well that would work, but the horse debuted at a mile, won by a neck from off the pace, had Juan Hernandez aboard. They went straight to the Open Company Grade 3 Surfer Grill. Abel Cedillo was aboard. Abel Cedillo, I love you. You're not Juan Hernandez. The horse didn't have a chance anyway, but not very good. Went to Golden Gate Fields last time out. It was a short field, ran a good third, just didn't have a chance to really kind of close into it. She is coming from off the pace. That's her best style. Back on turf, I think she improves. Another top jockey like Juan Hernandez. Now got Flavien Prat riding. Prat, by the way, he's ridden for Michael McCarthy 12 times in the last year. 3 of those were wins. 8 of those finished in the money. So I love that Prat's riding. I looked at this and thought, even if the 9 isn't on the muscle, I think that the 7 goes. I think the 2, the 4, the 6 could all go. You could even see the 1 try and gun it a little bit from the rail there. So I went with the 5 on top. And then number 4, Asada Fries. This was my second choice. 4-1 here. Since she stretched out to a mile 3 starts back, those have all been really competitive races. Her best race was 2 starts back when she sat 3 lengths off in a 6-horse field and still rallied to win by almost 2 lengths. That's even against maidens. That's not easy to do. Juan Hernandez aboard that day. Wasn't aboard last out. He retakes the mount. So to start off, I went 5-4 here. I obviously didn't use them. Where do you have these horses ranked?
The 4 was my second pick. The 5 was my 4th pick. So both horses that I considered looking at. And again, this is another reason why I decided to single here. We've talked about the 3 favorites in this race on the morning line. And I'm not going to go 4 deep using 3 of the 4 morning line favorites. I guess it's just not a winning strategy long term. And so you really got to make a decision. Okay, what do I want to do here? I was not as high on the 5 as you are. I understand the reasoning behind it. I wasn't impressed. I went back and watched that main special weight win. It was kind of blah. And so for me, that wasn't one that I was like, oh, wow, this horse really wants to go a mile, really wants the turf. And the Surfer Girl, I was just pretty much uninvolved. Now, did have a little bit of trouble in that race, so I don't want to completely draw a line, like just call that one like an awful race. I think there was some excuse there. I thought she needed to run better last time out. That was a big issue for me. That was a 6-horse field. She ends up running 3rd of 6. Espinosa is a pretty good jockey up there. There was no excuse for her not to be able to get up and get the job done, and just didn't run well enough. And now trying to take on a field where I think it's about comparable to what she faced up at Golden Gate, probably a little bit better. And to me, the 3-1 price, like this is the next logical horse to take money after Grand Slam Smile. And I couldn't swallow her at what price you're going to get. Asada Fries, I do think is interesting. She's been getting better every single race since she stretched out to go 2 turns. The effort, I think 3-back first-time turf is really excusable because she tried to go to the lead. That's not something that I think she wants to do. We saw the last 2 races. She ran better coming from a little bit off it. Again, not going to knock her for the last race. I thought she ran pretty well there and just didn't have enough late in the lane. So we'll see what she does. But again, like these need to improve from a buyer perspective, 10 to 12% to be able to run with the 9. And that to me is now the 9's doing something new. And that I get is the big question mark is can the 9 run back to what she has shown doing something new, going 2 turns on the turf? And if she can, 5-2 looks like a steal. That one of the things I struggled with here. What do you think the 9 actually goes off at? I mean, is it because you could tell me 8-5, I believe it. You could tell me 6-5, I believe it. You could tell me 4-5. I wouldn't tell you you're crazy. I'm really not like this one for me was tough to figure out. Okay, what exactly is the price going to be here on the 9?
I was leaning more like the even money 4-5 range, and that was before you mentioned that her trainer is telling everyone who will listen that she's going to run off the page.
It's let me see if I can find the exact quote because it was on DRF. Yeah, so Spite told Steve Anderson that if she takes the turf, they have no chance of beating her. That is the direct quote. So he's clearly very, very confident here. Did you use the one Petite Filet?
No.
No. Okay, so
I didn't.
This was the one reason why, and we got someone bringing up, Petite Filet bread for the grass. I was really interested in the one at 8-1. Like, this was the one that could have gotten me to be like, okay, I'm going to decide to figure out a way to spread around a little bit here. I thought the turf effort debut wasn't actually as terrible as it looks on paper when you go back and watch it. That was against Open Company. Ran well, beat Asada Fries 3-back, and that was a race that was taken off the turf. It was supposed to be on the turf. And it just feels like a horse that should be a turf horse that they decided to make a dirt horse because it won an off the turf race. And I think you're going to get back to the best possible scenario here for Petite Filet today. We'll see what happens, but that was the one of all of them that I was most interested in a little bit of a price.
And I will mention, too, that Petite Filet scratched out of the Kentucky Oaks prep race that was at Santa Anita last week. I already forgot what it was, but she was entered in that, a dirt race, and then scratched out to go to this spot.
Is that the San Vicente, or am I thinking of the wrong one?
No, that's the boys.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Santa Inez, that's what it is.
There you go.
Yeah, on Sunday. And I didn't use her. I like the jockey upgrade a lot. I did look at this horse a little bit because of the jockey upgrade to Cascamira, but I didn't end up using this one. I did go for a price for my third pick, and it's going to be number 3, Our Sweet Candy. After you have your asada fries, you have your sushi sticks, you got to have a little dessert there. Our Sweet Candy, number 3 at 12-1. A Golden Gate Invader here, debuted on turf at a mile, finished a fast closing second, then switched to synthetic in the fall when they didn't have turf racing anymore at Golden Gate. Come from behind, winner by over 3 lengths, was pretty impressive. Also at a mile there, so I like that this horse has got the foundation of 2-mile races. Another step forward from a speed figure standpoint is needed, but if she does take another step forward, I think it puts her right in the mix, aside from the 9, whose figures just kind of stand out here a little bit. So I like the 3 to price, and then just because I could, I kind of like her a little bit. The number 7, Madison Ray, 5-1. She looks like she's the fastest horse early, but she's got Rosario aboard. Edmund Maldonado rode her last out when she won Gate to Wire, and Maldonado got hurt. He's going to be missing for a few weeks, which is too bad, but Rosario's aboard. Can we trust Rosario on a speed horse to choke it back? I think so. I think we've done that before. Probably. And if you look back, 3 races back, she did sit off the pace just a little bit and break the maiden by a neck. Now, Calbred maiden, 6 furlongs on the dirt. But that last race at Los Al, she went Gate to Wire. And Los Al, you love to say, projects good for turf horses there. She beat Asada Fries, who was back in third there. I think that if she can take to the turf, I think that she's okay. And also, if you look at her breeding, her Grand Dam was a Grade 2 winner on Santa Anita's turf. And she herself is a daughter of an elite European turf stallion who's no longer with us, but Pivotal, who put out tons of Royal Ascot winners back when he was still alive. So she's got the breeding, and she has the effort at Los Al that says she should be able to handle it. And, 5-1 here, I think that she might end up slipping a little bit because the 9's going to take so much money. The 4 and the 5 are going to take some money here. So Madison Ray, the last horse on my ticket, but I did put Madison Ray on here.
Yeah, I think I don't think she makes the lead. I think it's so weird.
It's true.
The time form number, I think, is just off here for pace rating, which is a 102. It has the 9 is faster. We'll see what happens with this horse. But that race that you're referencing at Los Al, they went 24-48. It just feels like they're going to go 23, 22, 47 in this race, doesn't it? And if they do, I just don't see any way Rosario is the one that's hustling.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's
it's the Asada Fries. It's in the lead, right? Like that, or maybe the 2. Maybe the 2.
Yeah, I could see the 2 prancing through pair because you got the 2 is stretching out. The 1 is not stretching out, but was right up there with Madison Ray early in that Los Al race. The 4 could go. The 6, we didn't even talk about Recalcitrant, but Recalcitrant's been first at every point of call, the first point of call in every one of her races. Yeah,
I guess the 6 is the 6 and the 2 are your speed, but the 6 drew the 1 post last time, and that kind of felt like it pressed the hand of why the 6 decided to go. The 2 is that's got to be your early lead here, just because it's like stretching out, like you said, and also the draw. Like you're just screwed if you're in that 2 post and you don't go and you end up inside of 4 or 5 horses in this spot.
Yeah. We'll move on. The second leg of the late pick 5, Saturday, January 13th at Santa Anita Park. The only non-stakes race of this entire sequence, and still a good one. We've got 7 older Calbreds Sprinting 6.5 furlongs on the dirt at the N1X allowance level. Now note that the 2 Seaboard will scratch, so there will be 7 runners right now. Where'd you go on top?
Give me the 4 horse here, Crypto Ride on top. I thought this was a really, really interesting race, and I kind of ended up just in a spot that I didn't really expect to end up in. We're switching barns here over to the Leonard Powell barn. Leonard Powell, 18%, first time with trainer, 17% off this type of a layoff. And when I went through this race, it just feels like you're going to have a lot of horses who want to be a little bit more forwardly placed in this one. There's not any of that just burner speed outside of the 5. But when I look through it, it's like, okay, who do I trust? And I don't really trust the 5 at all, especially going 6.5 furlongs. And then you look at the 3, Minister Shane, and this is a horse where the race 2-back probably wins it, but that's really the only dirt race that's that good. And so when I kind of went through this, the difference between the class level, which the 4 has been running at, has been open company, $50,000, and now we're dropping into state bred 20, I think makes a big difference. And then the trip style makes a big difference. I mean, this one's going to sit pretty close to the pace, but not on it. Shouldn't have any issue with the additional distance. We're getting 5 pounds off with the bug. Like the barn switch, like the fact that we're coming off a layoff here and we're starting out our 4-year-old season. So I expect a natural step forward here. And then you go back to what this horse was able to do when it was in contention in races and when it was in that state bred level. And the record inside the state bred ranks are actually pretty good. It was competitive in multiple stakes races that were overnight stakes races at both Los Al and Santa Anita. I think we're getting back to our friends here. And I think that's really going to make the difference for the 4 Crypto Ride.
I couldn't use this horse. You make good points, but the layoff is concerning for me. And the horse only has 4 works back for this test. So for me, you're coming off of a 279-day layoff. And Leonard Powell's a great trainer. I'm with you. But to me, this feels like one where you watch it and you sit and wait and see what happens. The only time he's ever come from a layoff was his debut when he was a 2-year-old. And he ran a good race. He actually closed from 10th, 10 lengths off, going 6 furlongs at Los Al, and got 3rd, which is, missed 2nd by a neck. It's not easy to do at Los Al, even with the donkeys that usually run over there. So, but yeah, I couldn't use the 4 Crypto Ride. I did put on top the horse you mentioned that you're concerned about getting 6.5 furlongs, and that's the 5, El Rey Dorado. He had to drop to the Calbred maiden claiming ranks to get the job done, but he looked good in both of those starts. I think Kyle Frey, 2-back, figured out the horse's best chance to win is on the front end early, because until that point, he'd never really been that close. He'd been with a length or 2 early, but Kyle Frey was like, we're going to put you on the lead and see what happens, and it worked really well. And then last time out, first time facing winners, put him right on the front end again, was a half length off the lead early, and then powers home to win by over 3 lengths. So now this is that was Open Starter Allowance Company, 50K. Now this is Calbred N1X Allowance Company. To me, it's kind of a lateral move. Because this isn't a stakes race, a Calbred Stakes. I think this is kind of lateral to 50K Open Company Starter Allowance. But I think because he's going to be on the front end, and with the 7, I think absolutely doesn't have a chance past the quarter pole of being on the front end. I'm hoping that he kind of has that inside trip. And our old friend of the show, Mick Ruiz Sr. with the Bolt d'Oro horse. I got El Rey Dorado on top.
Yeah, I don't hate it, and I think this is of all of the horses that you're looking at as a possible speed candidate, this is clearly the one that takes some gate to wire. I think it's interesting you mentioned the 7. I think we kind of came to the same conclusion on the 7. The distance is going to be a problem.
Yeah,
they was able to break the maiden going 6.5, and that was sitting right off the pace. But outside of that, this horse just seems like it doesn't want anything to do with winners going that type of distance.
It's also 16K claimers. 16K claimers.
That was where the win came from. It was $45,000 state bred, essentially the same level that the 5 broke the maiden from a state bred perspective. And then came back at 5.5 furlongs and absolutely destroyed 16K claimers and 2L nonetheless. So bottom level 16K claimers. The last 2 races, not good enough. And so that of the 2, I went with the 5 as well. I think that was the speed horse that you want in here. I did use the 3 horse Minister Shane. Look, the race 2-back is good enough to win it, and that's really the bottom line. Is can we replicate that race? Can we do it over the Santa Anita Dirt Course? We'll see. But even if you go back and you look at some of the turf starts, and that's where Minister Shane I think is tough. It's okay, does the race at Santa Anita on the 13th of June 2021 win this? It's close. Like, I don't know if it does, but it's close. And so it's one of those where it's like, okay, probably one of the more talented horses in here. The other horse I'm going to use that I like a little bit more to price, and that's why I'm glossing over the other two, is the 8 Buck Owens here. Buck Owens 6-1 on the morning line. Barrios picks up the mount. The horse clearly likes the 6.5 furlong for the 4 races at the distance. 1 win, 1 second, 1 third. Ran at Santa Anita twice. 1 win, 1 third. And just kind of sets up well. And then the other key here for me is, look, we're getting rid of Payeras, who's a decent jockey when you're at Los Alamitos and you're going the 1,000 meters, or you're going on, or you're going 400 yards or whatever it is with the quarter horses. Barrios a big time upgrade. I'm talking big time upgrade. And this horse has races in the back that wins it here. So I'm going to go with the 3, 4, 7, 8 in this spot. But I like the 4 and the 8 the most because of the price.
3, 4, 7, 8 or 3, 4, 5, 8?
Sorry, 3, 4, 5, 8.
There you go. Okay, cool. No, I just want to make sure. The 8 is, I went too deep. The 8's the other horse I used. And I kind of looked at this as like, if there's a pace meltdown or a bunch of these horses are stumble bunnies, which I think we know that the latter part is probably going to be true. To me, it seems like he's about the strongest closer. And the last 3 times that he lost by several lengths on dirt, all 3 were won gate to wire. 2 of those on that super highway at Los Al. Kind of similar to the 3. Who also he's winless on dirt, but if you look, every time he was on dirt and he loses by 10 lengths or he loses by 8 lengths, his second. Well, Atomic Drop went gate to wire. Like, of course, that's what he's a closer. He's not going to be able to get up there. So, I think if I was going to use a third horse, I would put the 3 on here. The 5-2 price is what kind of kept him off for me, but Buck Owens getting Hector Barrios, I think, is good. Barrios has 1 win and 4 in the money finishes total in his past 5 starts for the Valenzuela Junior Barn. So, yeah, we both like the 5 and the 8 for sure on here.
Yeah, and man, this is one of those races where you have to find a price in this race in a lot of ways because of the way the rest of the sequence plays out. You don't like the favorite in the first, I do. And so this race, it's kind of important that we end up with the 4 or the 8 in my mind just to get this thing to pay something.
Third leg of the Santa Anita Late Pick 5 on Saturday, January 13th. Race 7. It is the longest named race of the whole weekend. The Sunshine Millions Filly and Mare Turf Sprint Stakes presented by John Deere. Might as well throw the sponsor in there. We've got 8 older fillies and mares sprinting 6.5 furlongs down the Hillside Turf Course. I almost singled in here, but I ended up... I chalked out, which I really hate. I really, really hate the morning lines on this, but we'll get to that in a second. Who's your top pick?
I went back and forth in this race, and I ended up 4 deep here because I like 2 prices, and I realize I am very much price hunting in this spot. Like I think that the 3 and the 6 are the best 2 horses. I really do, but their price sucks. I'm sorry, the 2 and the 6, but their price both sucks. They're 3-1 and 5-2. So I included 2 prices in here that I thought I have a shot. The top pick for me was a 2-horse Rose Maddox, who I like. Look, came off a really nice race last time, or 2 back, was able to win a state bred level, pretty much this level, $100,000 stakes race. Going down the hill, 6.5 furlongs, 1 for 3 over this course, likes the Santa Anita course, 2 wins over 8 tries on the turf course with 3 additional seconds. Pratt picks up the mount, has beaten a lot of these before. I mean, like, she just makes a ton of sense. She has the pace to chase again, which was a big part of that win 2 back, is that you've got 4 horses that seem like they want to lead 3 or 4 horses in here. So I went with a 2 on top. I have the 6 second who's going to be part of the pace. To me, neither of them are all that interesting of a handicap, but like they probably should be used. But I also want to try and find a price here because, again, like I'm singling the favorite in the first. I'm singling the favorite in the 4th leg of the sequence. You got to go price hunting along the other legs if you want to have any shot at making some money.
Yeah, and these are the 2 horses I used. I went 2-6 here, Rose Maddox on top, and almost singled her. You mentioned 2 back, basically the same race, and she dominated by 2 lengths in that spot. I say 2 lengths doesn't sound like dominated. She was 2 lengths clear with about an 8th or 16th to go, and Pereira just put her on autopilot, and it was great. But yeah, she beat the 1 Medea, she beat the 5 Kismosa, and she beat the 3 Rose Dawson in that race. Last time out, a really good 4th over this course. It was the Senator Ken Matty Stakes that was on Breeders' Cup Friday. That was open company, and it was open gender. So she's facing a bunch of boys who weren't good enough to get into a Breeders' Cup race, and she got 4th. She missed 3rd by just a nose in that spot. I thought that it was a tremendous effort from her, and now Flavia Pratt riding. So all things that I love. And then as far as the 6 goes, 2 back over this course versus open company allowance females, again on Breeders' Cup Friday. She had a worse post and a worse trip than the one Medea who's in here, and yet she almost caught that horse right at the wire. Medea ridden by Victor Espinoza, so I'm not going to use her just off of that reason. And then out of that effort, the reason she's the 5-2 favorite, which pisses me off, she dominated, not to John White's fault, I'm just mad that everyone else is going to love her too. She dominated 9 other horses by 4.5 lengths, going 5 furlongs sprinting at Del Mar, and it was open company allowance. Like, that doesn't happen unless you're a really, really good horse. So on top of that, her time form turf numbers, they've increased with every single start. I just wish for her stakes debut, she was a little better price.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to swallow the 5-2 number for a stakes debut on that one. Look, you said everything about these 2 horses. They are probably the best horses in here. I'm going to go price hunting with the 3 Rose Dawson. This is a D'Amato play. When he puts a horse like this back into stakes company after losing like it did 2 back, he clearly trusts the horse. Hernandez rides for the 5th straight time. They believe that this horse fits at this, and there's a race 3 back, over the Los Al course that fits from a buyer or a numbers perspective, both buyer and time form for this horse to be able to run with the 2 or the 6. The pace should set up well here again, where I think the Rose Dawson should be able to sit right behind the pace and go, and kind of got just caught on the inside going down the hill last time, which is not always the best place to be going down the hill, because you go down there and then you have to spin in on that dirt track, and you don't really want to go to the rail on the dirt track. You don't know what everyone else is going to do. So I'm gonna use the 3 and just give it the excuse of it was inside last time. That's not where you want to be. I'm gonna go for a price here and go to our boy Joel Rosario for it. Give me the 7 horse, the second longest price in the field, 12-1 on Tam's Little Angel. I think this horse is just better when it gets over to turf. And that's really the reason why I'm going to go here. If you go back to January 7th, 2023, in this exact race, this horse ran 4th at 36-1. I think this horse is better than what we saw last time running in this race. And if that's the case, kind of fits with the rest of this field. I mean, yes, you need to improve 10, 20% there to be able to do it, but you've had a full 4-year-old season to do that. Now this is an early 5-year-old season for this mare. I think she has gotten better since she ran in that race. If she's able to replicate that type of trip and just be a little bit faster, I think she's got a shot at winning this thing. So I'm going to go for a price here with the 7 Tam's Little Angel.
Yeah, briefly consider the 7. The race 2 back really is what caught my attention when she that mile race there. We didn't mention it earlier, so Steve Spite, the trainer of this one, and also Grand Slam Smile, 2 starters at Santa Anita in the last year. They've both been winners, so see if he can double that this weekend on Cal Cup Day. As far as the 3 goes, I bet Rose Dawson a couple of different times, and it's never when she's won. It's just tough because she's always against Rose Maddox, and you're like, well. Yeah. The Rose Maddox is the better of the 2 roses. So, a trivia question: do you know who either Rose Maddox or Rose Dawson
are? The chick from Titanic.
There you go, Rose Dawson. That's what she says at the end when they ask her for her name when she gets to America, and she says Rose Dawson because that was Jack's name. Rose Maddox was a long time ago, like Depression era. Singer, and she actually was a bluegrass singer. She was one of Dolly Parton's major influences. So Nick Alexander doesn't just go for baseball names with his horses. He just goes to Titanic names and Rose Maddox there. But before we move on, I gotta call this out because it did make me chuckle. Shoddy says, why did the John Deere tractor fight the lawnmower? They had a turf war.
Oh, boom.
The 2 dads on the show, neither one of us made that joke. It ends up being shoddy in that spot, but that's okay. We appreciate the dad jokes there. We'll move on. Let's see. This will be a quick one here. Race 8, the Don Valpredo California Cup Sprint. 5 older males sprinting 6 furlongs on the dirt. The Chosen Vron is in here.
Yep.
Can we just say move on? How about this? How does the Chosen Vron end up losing this if he does? Because we both singled him.
Falls down. I mean, this is. I mean, again, this is a little chalky, but I'm going to probably play a large 2-5-4 cold try. Moose Mitchell just screaming to run 3rd again. The Chosen Vron wins. The Brickyard Ride runs 2nd. We can move along, get our 4-1 on the try or 3-1 or whatever the crappy thing it pays. Look, I don't see how Chosen Vron loses this race. I mean, like you're looking at Brickyard Ride and like, okay, well, maybe Brickyard Ride can go gate to wire on him. I mean. The Chosen Vron was so good last time against Big City Lights in a spot that I thought Big City Lights might have the jump on him, swinging back quickly off of the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He even ran well in the Breeders' Cup Sprint when you take a look at it, running a decent 5th in that race. So I just don't see how Brickyard Ride is going to be able to go gate to wire and be able to hold him off. For what he'll have to do early, for him to be able to do it late is really tough. And if you even look at like when they faced each other, Brickyard Ride is absolutely dominated, or Chosen Vron has absolutely dominated Brickyard Ride. You could even make a case that you play a cold try and you just leave Brickyard Ride out because Chosen Vron is going to absolutely rip his soul out.
Couldn't have put it better myself. I agree totally on Chosen Vron. He's such a fun horse. He's 6 years old. He's got 19 starts, 14 wins. He's only ever faced non-stakes company once in his career, is when he broke his maiden by almost 7 lengths. So a really just unbelievably good horse. Over $1 million earned now as a Callbred. It's a really cool thing to see, especially because the other horses in here, Brickyard Ride. God, you wanted to get that horse to $1 million. I think if he keeps running 3rd or 4th in a bunch of Callbred stakes this year, he'll get there. But 7 years old there. Principe Carlo is 8 years old. Like a bunch of old guys that look like their better days are far behind them. So yeah, we both singled the two that Chosen Vron.
What do you think you get on the 3-4 exacta? I'm sorry, 2-4 exacta.
A 2-4 exacta. You could probably get you bring it 4-1, 5-1.
Maybe that's the play. Maybe a little 2-4-1 cold try, 2-4 exacta. Because Principe Carlo is probably going to go with Brickyard Ride and Chosen Vron, right? And Geezer's the only closer. Moose Mitchell's going to sit in between that, right? And so maybe you get the 2 and the 5 to quit, or the 3 and the 5 to quit, and you can just play that 2-4-1 cold try.
Last time out for Moose Mitchell, the Cary Grant Stakes that Chosen Vron won. Second place was Big City Lights, and that horse, if the Chosen Vron wasn't in there, was going to win that race by over 4 lengths. So really, probably the second best Callbred on dirt in training right now is Big City Lights. So yeah, Moose Mitchell, a good 3rd there, and before that had a win in a 2nd. So very talented. Yeah, I think 2-4, if you want to play an exacta, that's probably the way to go. We got one more race to go. That's race 9. It's the Unusual Heat Turf Classic Stakes. We've got 10 older males going a mile on the turf course. A mile and an eighth on the grass. And that is key because we are both trying to beat the favorite, number 5, Kings River Knight. 6-5 morning line. Won 4 of his last 5 races, all in stakes. Why are we taking a shot against him, Mike?
Because I don't think the mile and an eighth is the distance we want to be going, to be quite honest. That was the biggest concern for me here, is that Kings River Knight has absolutely no interest in getting a mile and an eighth. But I do have a question for you.
Yes.
What happens when a cat has an alligator baby?
What?
You name it. Alligato! The 7.
I did not see that coming. I'm sorry. That was good. Go ahead.
We're going 7 on top here. Alligato, which means alligator cat. I made that up, but we're going to go with it. Look, this horse I do think wants the mile and an eighth distance. Both the races 2 and 3 back were both solid. You'll see Steel Team there 3 back. That was the race before Steel Team won impressively on Breeders' Cup Day, and actually looked good outside of that race too. So nice flattering effort there. This horse really likes to hit the board and not win, which is a little bit of a concern, but we're getting 6-1. We're getting Pratt aboard, and we're getting the right distance as well as the setup. I think this horse gets a phenomenal trip here. Love the 6-1 price. The fact that the 5 Kings River Knight is 6-5 and going to take money is really helps out the prices in the rest of the spot. So give me the 7 Alligato on top. Did you use the 7 Magic?
Top pick for me as well. By the way, Alligato, if you translate it into Cubano, which is a language spoken in the southern Philippines, it means a spark, which I also like it. But it's not as cute as Alligator Cat, so we might stick with that one. Yeah, Alligato won this race in 2022, missed repeating last year by a neck, hit the board in the next 6 starts. Pratt rode him to winning this in 2022 and the neck defeat. So when Pratt shows up to ride this horse, giddy up! The Alley Cat is ready to go. I think we had full agreement in that we each used 3 horses here.
I like that too.
Alley Cat, yeah. We had 3 3 horses that we all agreed on. Next up for me is the number 3 Bally's Charm at 4-1. Hector Barrios riding co-speed along with the 5 Kings River Knight probably, but unlike the 5, the 3 can handle the distance. 2 9-furlong turf wins, including Callbred Stakes here last summer. And last time out, lost to, by a half length, my favorite horse in California right now, Easter. Easter went from that race to win 2 graded 2 stakes turf races. And in that race, the 2 of these horses, Bally's Charm and Easter, over 3 lengths clear of third. So if you're within a half length of Easter and you're over 3 lengths better than everybody else, you're probably pretty decent here. So I just hope that the 3 doesn't get sucked into a speed duel. That's my one concern with Bally's Charm.
Yeah, pretty good field too in the lure. It's a restricted stakes. It's much like the Curlin, where you cannot have won a graded stakes. I believe it's in the last year to get into the Easter, or that year in that calendar year. Generally gets a pretty good field because there's a bunch of horses in California that haven't won a graded stakes, and so you'll end up with a pretty good turf field there. So you always got to watch out for whoever wins the lure. This case it was Easter who got all the eggs, and that horse has come and run back well a couple times. I agree with you on Bally's Charm here. I think the 3 is the speed that can get the distance. Big question is going to be, how much pace pressure is there here? I use the 3 because I respect the fact that, if the 3 gets the lead and we have inside speed here, immediately he is dangerous. That the 5 Kings River Knight, I think, is going to sit off. I don't think goes, but it will definitely be part of the pace. And then the 9 horse, Catalina Eddy, I think is the other one you have to keep an eye out for. Coming out of a 6.5 furlong turf sprint, made the lead going 6.5 furlongs at Santa Anita, 4 back, was on the pace, going a mile, 2 back. That's the other one I'm afraid may press the pace here. But if for some reason Bally's Charm is able to get to that, let's call it the first turn and have a nice lead, and this is one of those where I almost wish we were going like down the chute instead of all the way from the back of the stretch, because if they're going down the chute, you have that half turn that can kind of create space if you're the inside speed. So we'll have to win the race to the first turn, but if so, I think Bally's Charm has a chance to take this field gate to wire. I had the 2 in second, so I had the 3 in third. I had Carmelita's Man, the horse, right to the inside in second, partially because you don't have that speed issue. This is one that's going to be coming from off the pace. And again, like if you just focus in on the Calbred stakes races this horse is running, first, third, seventh, that wasn't great. First, third, seventh, fourth in the lure, which was restricted, not a Calbred. First. Pretty good. 3 wins and 6 starts. The only 7th came actually as a favorite in this race last year. That was over a mile and 1/8, a good turf. But the horse has won over a mile and 1/8, has 1 win, 2 seconds in 8 starts, likes the Santa Anita turf, 4 wins, 2 seconds. And I think it's the pace set up today. I think the 2 is going to be able to have a bunch of pace to chase. We mentioned the 3, the 5, the 9 all want to go. And we know likes the course. So I ended up with the 2 in front of the 3, but I was 7-2-3. I think you're 7-3-2.
Yep, you're right. And that when this horse was just 7th in this race last year, was only beaten by 2.5 lengths and had unbelievably horrible trip in that spot. Just bumped all over the place, traffic all over. It was almost like I read in a 5-horse field. You're trying to figure out how did you get stuck, except there were a lot more than 5 horses there. So, Carmelita's Man, to me, you kind of nailed it. It's just he's been so competitive in so many of his starts. It's like if if things go just right for him, he's gonna win this. Like he will win this race. So we agree. 7, 3, and 2 in any order there. That's where we went here. Did you look at the 6 at all? Because I almost put the 6 on here. A very late blooming newly turned 5-year-old, but broke the maiden 2 back over this course and distance. Went gate to wire against Calbreds. Not going to get the lead in this spot. But last time out with Frisu aboard against Calbred allowance horses, came from off the pace a little bit in 5th and ended up winning by over a length. Frisu's got the mount here again. A similar trip like that I think is good enough. He just needs to take another step forward from that race, and it's kind of a question of will he do it or not.
I mean it's a big step up. I mean that to me is going from winning you broke your maiden, that's awesome. Then you win a $20,000 N1X. Okay, good. You're 18-1 and 14-1 in those 2 respective starts, and then you're jumping up against this group, which is pretty salty. Like you don't have the like, okay, wow, that's an unbelievably good horse, because your 6-5 favorite is really vulnerable because of the distance. But at the same time, like there are 4 or 5 solid horses in here. I mean, we're not even mentioning None Above the Law, who just shows up every single time and runs a high 80s buyer, right? So if you're a buyer person, it's like, well, the 6 is going to have to jump up quite a bit. The thing is, the price is right on the 6. You're sitting at 20-1. You're getting one of the top jockeys in the circuit. I'm not sure where this horse sits from a pace perspective. I think that's my biggest issue, and why I didn't gravitate toward the 6 is I don't think the 6 has any chance of getting the lead, right? Mm-hmm. And if Silent Heat doesn't get the lead, what trip are you gonna project here? I know you mentioned the trip last time where was able to sit off it. Well, he sat off at 22:46. Like, it feels like he wants to be forwardly placed, because he probably ran 23:47 when he was in that race. And like, if they go 23:47 and the 6 isn't in the lead, this is going to just fall apart. Yeah. Right? And so I couldn't come up with a scenario where the 6 is faster than the 3, the 5, and the 9, or is not like, and if he's not faster and they go too fast, he's sitting there right behind Speed and probably falls apart as well. So if I was going to take a shot, I would look to take someone who's just like coming. I would look for someone who's coming from off the pace versus on it. Pesarando, the 8 horse was the price that I looked at for a while. Not really sure why this horse is here. Spite brought like 4 horses in. This is one of them. The other one is the 10 Royal and Rando. I thought both of these were kind of your interesting price as horses that have been in open company consistently and now are dropping into stakes company, or state bred stakes company. And we saw this, the 10 horse run in 4 of these races before. Never really did great, but did okay in a couple of them, specifically the Snow Chief back in 2022. Royal and Rando ran second, but I don't really like the 10 posts. So like for me, it was the 8 or the 10 if I was going to get a little wonky. Maybe you can even make a case for the 9, that the 9 learns how to sit, but I don't really like square 8s going a mile and 8. So like there were big time question marks for a lot of these prices for me. But if I went for something crazy, it would probably be the 8 Pasarando or the 10 Royal and Rando.
Because they're both by Tamarando.
Yeah,
that's why I was lots of randos in this spot. But Silent Heat and who was it? There's one other horse. Anyways, the Unusual Heat is who the race is named for. One of the best California sires for a long time. He's since passed, but I know Silent Heat is a grandson of his. And then I already forgot there was someone else in this race that also is. The Acclamation horse, Kings River Knight. So don't root for him. Well, really not going to root for either one of these horses, the 5 or the 6, to win. But if they did, grandsons of Unusual Heat winning the Unusual Heat Turf Classic could be a fun story. On the 8, by the way, you do have Frankie Dettori picking up the mount. I know Frankie Alvarado is come down for a couple of mounts. He came down for the 10. Steve Spike got Frankie Dettori to ride the 8, and I don't think you can overlook that either.
No, I don't think you can either. This is one of those where when I was looking at the 2 and I was debating if I was going to put either on the ticket, and neither ended up making it. I was like, well, what do you want? Like, would you rather have the regular one, the regular rider chose, or the one that Frankie Dettori ended up on? And so that was kind of one of those like mixed up things. Like, again, if you want to play a 50-cent ticket and you want to get rid of, you're singling the 2 and you're singling either my 9, or you're trying to get its price down basically in the ticket, like this is a good race to spread out and try and find a price. Like if you like the 6, if you like the 8, if you like the 10, since we're against the 5 here in general, this isn't a bad place to spread around and see if you can get some type of price.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thanks for joining Mike and I to cover Cal Cup Days Late Pick 5, Saturday, January 13th at Santa Anita Park. If you're listening on the podcast, we will give our tickets one last time. If you're watching us, take a look down below. We've got the tickets right there. Both dollar tickets, I'll start. I'm going to go 3, 4, 5, 7 with 5, 8. With 2, 6, single the 2, and then 2, 3, 7, 48 for me, 48 for you, Mike.
Yep, I'm going to start with a single here. Give me a single up the 9 with 3, 4, 5, 8, with 2, 3, 6, 7, with 2, 3, 7. Again, $48 for $1.
Speaking of pick 5s, if you're looking to play Aqueduct tomorrow, our Stephanie came in earlier and said the late pick 5 carry over 117,000 at Aqueduct for Friday, January 12th. So, hey, if you want a little bit of extra money there, like the extra money we all put into that stupid coast-to-coast pick 5 last week that carried over to Sunday, hopefully you got to some of that free money on Sunday.
That was one of the most painful sequences we've had in a long time from a scratch perspective, where no race was taken off the surface that it was supposed to be run on.
Yeah.
Everything stayed on the turf, no switches there, but there were 4 key speed scratches. So all of a sudden, horses that you were that horse can't get the lead, or isn't going to get an easy lead, or isn't going to be really that they control the pace, and you're just well, shit. How are we supposed to get there on a Thursday without knowing who's in and who's out on a Saturday? And it's just all right, move along.
Yeah, half the horses in one race scratch, and then both of our singles, which were opposite horses, scratched at the gate. It was.
Yeah,
it just was it was painful. I was texting you. I was like, lots of expletives. We are never doing this sequence again. I take that back now, but I was very upset in the moment.
The 15% low takeout. It's a dollar denomination. A lot to like about the sequence. It just really sucked how that one played out. I mean, it sucked for everybody. Every single person who was in the pool would agree it sucked because no one hit it that day. But it set up a nice carryover on Sunday, which was fairly chalky, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and then I think Shoddy ended up losing it on one because of a bad DQ too as well. So, anyways, over at the Racing Dudes SantaAnitaPark.com. We do have, it's pretty much all about the Cowbreds this weekend because there's not a whole lot happening, but we've got, of course, the Santa Anita Pick 5. Aaron went through and gave his top win picks for all 5 of the stakes races. So this post right here, Cal Cup Day picks, we've got it up on the YouTube channel, his top win pick for each of the 5 stakes races, so you can check that out. Fantasy League update, drum roll, please. Got John and Ryan back on top there for a little bit. I still like where we're sitting with our horses, so we're feeling good about that. And then if you want NFL playoff talk, Papa Dude and Aaron talked about that on Dudes Who Bet Sports earlier today. You can check them out, or you can check out Mike Somich on VSiN, because I'm sure you'll be talking a little bit of pigskin this week, right?
Yeah, just a little bit. I'll be on Sharp Money tomorrow from 2 to 3 Pacific, running through every single game on the board and all the bets that I like from it. Then we'll be on the handle 7 to 10 Eastern, both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, we'll be breaking down what happened and then talking about Sunday. And Sunday, we'll be breaking down all the next week's games and getting out in front of the lines. Favorite bet of the week, the over in the Cleveland-Houston game. I think that game flies over the 44.5 total right now.
The Unibrow is going to be on fire. I see Daryl Lou mentioned there's a carryover at Charlestown tonight. If you want to play Charlestown, Aaron Halterman's got a few just picks over here at the Racing Dudes Best Bets page, so you can check those out right here on the screen. I didn't see how Gulfstream Park Race 6 went for him yet, but I know he's got the Charlestown picks up there as well, so go check that out. What's that?
Oh, it won. It won, but it paid $2.40.
Okay. Listen, Aaron's a little busy on podcast day. He hasn't been able to update that part of the site yet. Ed likes the Rams and over. What about that one? Wait, the Rams. Get out of here, Ed. I'm about to ban you.
The total got too high for me. If I could have gotten it under 50, I would have been interested. It's sitting at 51.5 now. I do think you're going to see a lot of points in that game. I think you're going to see success from both wide receiving crews. I have the Amon-Ra St. Brown over 87.5 receiving yards in that game is my best bet out of it.
I would love to see that happen because I got a good feeling about the Detroit Lions hosting their first playoff game in 30 years. And, of course, Matt Stafford's going to be the one to come home and just go all over it.
The storyline's incredible, man. The Stafford versus Goff is just it's phenomenal. You've got McCarthy against Green Bay. I mean, you've got Tyreek going back to Kansas City. It's like it's rigged or something, right?
Don't get me started. Ed Burke says in Detroit. Okay, you're forgiven, and I understand. Listen, the good thing about what Ed's doing is if you're a Detroit native and you're a Lions fan, you bet the Rams, and either way, like you win money, or for the first time in 30 years, the Detroit Lions have gone forward in the playoffs. So it's a win-win. I get it, Ed. Listen, I'm somebody that plays both sides quite often.
Ed never said that he was in Detroit because he's the Lions fan. He just said he's in Detroit right now.
Maybe he's in Detroit for the game to bet the Rams.
Yeah.
All right, you're back to being banned, Ed.
Maybe he's there for work. You never know. It doesn't say he lives there.
Not too many people admit to being in Detroit, whether they live there or not. Good luck to Ed. See, he's a Michigan guy. Okay, see, Ed. All right. I keep wanting to ban Ed, and then he says something that makes me take it back.
Well, he still may not live in Detroit. There are other places in Michigan to live. It's actually better to not live in Detroit there. So yeah. Thoughts on the coaching carousel? Get that on Dudes Who Bet Sports, Dr. Tang, or show up when the show starts. We spent the first 5 minutes talking about it. Unbelievable.
Stop curing cancer for 5 minutes and listen to us.
I feel like I should get the Atlanta job.
Don't take the Alabama job. Literally the worst job you could take because you're following God.
Well, you're not only following God. God quit right when Alabama lost its edge. Like it's going to be harder and harder to be a dynasty with the NIL world, and you don't get 4 or 5-star recruits at every single position to be able to just refill your positions. It's going to be harder to keep them. I think Saban was. This is the final move in a lot of really smart moves is to retire right now, because this is when it's going to become even more difficult than it has been the past 10 years to keep the dynasty going.
And it's a big reason he got. I understand it. He's like, yeah, this is stupid. Same reason Harbaugh's like, nah, this is all stupid. No, I don't want to do this. Ed says he lives in Redford, which is, it's like on the outskirts of, it's within Detroit range. It's like when my wife says to non-Michigan people that she's from the Detroit area. Ed's from the Detroit area, so, but Redford for sure, because nobody wants to admit they actually live in Detroit. We hope you had a good time. We hope you admit you had fun. If you did, put it in the comments section. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at Curtis Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8. Remember, if you want some more football talk all weekend long, check this guy out on VSiN. He's doing a bang-up job over there. He even had the Circa winner, the Circa contest winner interviewed. So that was pretty cool to see as well. So glad to see things are going for you, buddy. Good luck this week. Until next time, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck. Don't hit the wrong button.
The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by RacingDudes.com.